Everybody. My group with me, Anshit, Hendrik and Bastien is going to present our topic of suspensions. So the basic purpose of a suspension system is to first maximize the friction between the tires and the road surface during acceleration, cruising and braking. Second, to provide steering stability with good handling. And third, to ensure the comfort of passengers. It is essentially a system that absorbs the energy of vertically accelerated wheel, allowing the frame body to ride undisturbed while the wheels follow bumps in the road. Let's go.
With the suspension, we have two different kinds. First, the dependent suspension with a rigid axle, where both sides of the wheel are on the same axle and are dependent to each other. And independent suspension, which is usually used in the front suspension with a double wishbone suspension, where the wheels are mounted independent from each other to the chassis. With the suspension, we got the sprung and the unsprung mass. The sprung mass is a chassis, like everything which got the benefits of the dampening. And the unsprung mass are the wheels, the axle, everything which is in direct contact to the ground and doesn't get the benefits of the springs.
Go.
So the suspension are made of three principal components. The first one is the spring, the second one is the damper, and finally you have the anti-sway bar. So about the spring, you can find three different springs. The first one is the leaf spring. It's a leaf of metal which are bound together, and these are used like a single unit. So when the wheel will go up and down, this will give the stiffness to the suspension. So generally there is this point which is fixed to the frame, and this one can move to provide an horizontal movement. And so this is used in the heavy vehicle like buses or trucks. And then in other really heavy vehicles like tanks, you can find some torsion bar suspension. So basically when the wheel will go up and down, the wishbone and this component will bounce like this. And so the torsion bar will give the stiffness by torsion like this. And this is what gives the stiffness to the suspension. And finally, which is the most common thing you can find on cars, even on bikes, this is the coil spring. And so this is the component which gives stiffness, and to dissipate the energy which is given to the spring, we use damper.
Let's go.
Okay, the damper in a car is built like this. You got two tubes, one outer one inner one. In it you got a piston. In the piston you have little holes, and in the lower inner shell housing you have hydraulic fluid. The principle of working is when the wheel, which is found here somewhere, moves up, the fluid gets pressed through the holes of the cylinder, and at this point the kinetic energy of the bump gets translated into frictional force and then into heat. And those holes there are a lot of tiny holes and a lot of big holes, so you have a lot of friction. And because all the kinetic energy then gets changed from kinetic to heat energy, the mass stops moving after some time.
Rolling.
So the last component is the sway bar. It's used in independent suspension, and it's used to balance the suspension between the both sides. So the sway bar, it's a rod which connects the left and the right side of the suspension. So for example, when there is an extra load on the left side, the sway bar will help to compensate with the rebound on the right side, and it's give more raw stiffness to the suspension. So basically, it's helped to have more stability on the suspension of the car.
So these days, the most commonly used type of a suspension system is the strut, which not only combines the transmissibility of energy that spring has, but also uses a damper in order to dissipate. So the strut is basically a combination of a coil spring and a damper, as we just discussed. and so it is a shock absorber mounted inside a coil spring. So it's mostly known for its dampening function, and it provides structural support for the vehicle suspension. But the most important thing over here is that it controls the speed at which the weight is transferred in the car, but not the weight itself.
Okay, the newest and modest technology of suspension goes in the development of the magnetic damper control, where you can electronically via magnet control the settings of the damper, and to an air ride system where you get an air suspension. With those two systems, it's possible to basically level the car at all times and absorb the bumps basically completely. And this is what's actually used in the newest luxury cars, and in the future will probably be in also the common cars used.
Go.
So that was a video on suspension. Thank you for watching.